Hey, what's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. Check this one out. This is a 21 500 Exc-f, and this was set up for Pete Day of Mosko Moto. Pete, if you follow those guys on their website and on all the socials, him and Ashley are, they're traveling fools. They go all over. They spend a lot of time each year recreating, doing road trips, doing team trips. They'll go out by themselves. They'll also go out with all the crew of Mosko Moto. They just came back from like a month in Mexico on some big bikes, some ADV bikes. And this little bike here, this is the light adventure bike. This went to Death Valley a couple weeks ago, and they dropped it off before their trip. So when they came through Vegas, this bike was stock. So they dropped it off, and we did a really quick, like 1 day stage one, where we put quite a few things on there to make the trip more doable. We put some guards, headlight, a handful of things on there, just really quick to make sure that he had a good, successful trip that first outing, and then dropped it off when they headed back up to Washington. And then it's been here for a little bit. Now it's done. It's heading back up to Washington, and it received stage 2. We did quite a few additional things on this to set it up. Now he's got a bike that he can do all of his annual trips on. He could create this bike and send it anywhere in the world if he wanted to. This is a machine that is now super capable for a light ADV bike. So let's start up here on the front. As far as the disc rotor, STR, love those guys, carbon fiber. Suspension is all Racetech internals, resprung, revalved, custom for him. Graphics package, Upshift Online put that together for him, and he's got the little Mosko touches, ride more. That's kind of a Mosko trademark thing. As far as the front tire, that's a Tusk. It's the 9121. I think that's the Adventure tire, so this is a new tire, and just wanted to try it out. The guys have been talking about this tire as being a pretty good economical adventure tire, trying to find that balance between good traction and long life. And we set these tires up for long life. Inside of here, we've got the not Enduro Moose, yeah, the Enduro Moose. Inside of here, we've got the Techno Moose. Techno Moose is not new. They've been around for a long time. They kind of faded away. They're from Italy, and they reformulated sort of their compounds, came out with some new designs, I think in 2019 or 2020. And so while Techno Moose is not new to making mooses, they're sort of relaunched, and they've got a couple of different lines. And the one that's in here is the Sahara, and that's their very long-lived moose. There's a couple of things. We'll do a review of all the mooses. In fact, we're going to do a big review of all the mooses and tire fill technologies that are out there, like tubeless, tire balls, Bridgestone ultra heavy duty tubes, all the different ways to fill up your tires. So this one, this moose is the Sahara line, and that's their ultra long life. And there's some really cool things about it. One of the things really quick is that it fills up all of the available tire space. So it's not only round for the outside profile of the tire, but it has an indent for the drop center of the rim. And that already, you've got, 10 to 15% more material, more mousse going into that tire than if you just had a round mousse. So they've got some innovative features, and I'm really confident with, and we'll look at the back tire in a minute, but I'm really confident with this tire setup. He'll easily get 2,000 miles, maybe 2,500, maybe 3,000 miles out of these mousse and these tires. I'm pretty sure of that. Let's see, what are we missing up front here? Taco Moto tugger strap. That's the Baja Designs Moto-minded XL80 headlight. Fork wrap, Taco Moto fork wrap, turn signals, fork shrinks. Oh, here, let's talk about this stabilizer. So this is the GPR V5. This is a new release stabilizer from GPR. They've had the V4 now for years and years, and that's the one that probably everybody's super familiar with. But this one is new, and what is super innovative and cool about this is it now comes with a dampening system. So they've got these two little roller points here with some isolation bushings in there, and that isolates away any of the engine vibrations from the upper clamps, and then allows a little bit of dampening, especially some fore and aft, dampening because of the way this is sort of situated. So we did something here to combine the flex bars, which provides really good up and down dampening, with the GPR, which is good fore and aft. And I'm going to get some feedback from Pete to find out how well he thinks this does as a combination. I'm really optimistic that this may be a new and innovative way to get dampening for bars, especially for like vet riders or guys who maybe ride wrist heavy. So Pete's really tall. The reason we kind of went with this setup, also as far as him being tall, is we have a tall C Concept seat on here, and then the Evo, the Fastway Pro Moto Billet Evo Airs, and then these are in the down position, as you know, that you can set these up in the up or down position. So we've done some things here specifically because he's a tall guy. Notice we've got these riser stacks in here, so we're pushing the bars up. The GPR is a little bit higher than stock, although I say that, and I need to read that literature, and maybe I'll put some notes in the comments here, but it's very possible that they have worked hard. They've done a lot of cool machining here. So they've recessed into the triple clamp. This is dropped down. So I think what they've done is tried to keep the stock height, stock bar height. And if that's the case, I think they've done a really good job. It's just a really nice piece. It's super well machined, unbelievable quality. I'm super impressed with it. And the fact that we can now offer, with combining the flex bars and then this bottom bracket, really, I think, really good dampening for your hands and your wrists. Pete's being when you have a tall guy, they tend to lean forward and be a little forward heavy on the bike. And I think this is going to do really well for him. So looking forward to some feedback on that. We also threw on some of the Eau Rouge Rogue grips, rather. And these are very, have a lot of cushion to them. And if you're a guy with bigger hands, these are a good one. Also, the Pro Grip 714s are really, really big grips. Those are the rally grips. And so if you have very big hands, those might be ones to look at. Got the Enduro Engineering. These are the little grip skins. These add a little traction to the grip lever itself. Get ECU system with traction control. That's a must-have item. As far as his bar guards, he's got the Cycra Pro Bends, and these mount up really well with the flex bars. If you use the, and I forget if this is the CMR version, I'll put that in the notes, but this version is the top bar clamp, and it fits right here underneath the top bar of the flex. So this all comes together really nicely. Don't tighten these down all the way. We tighten them down almost all the way, and then put some strong Loctite on here. So you've got the flex here. You could also add some nylon bushings behind here to give a little bit of that flex. And then on the end of the bars, we tap them out and then sink the bolts in. And so instead of having the stock cam unit that comes with any of the hand clamps, you can really upgrade this by tapping out the bars, putting threads in the bars, and then inserting the threaded insert, and then put your bolt right straight into that. That's really the trick way to go. As I look down here, I notice that we've got this hose. Now this is unusual. This is where the charcoal canister goes. So what we've done here is we put the KTM Hard Parts Coolant Overflow tank in here. So this is the outlet. The other side is the inlet. I'll show you that. So from the radiator, the hose, the overflow hose, now comes around here, and we capture. What we're doing is we're capturing any of the coolant. There's some right in here, some coolant. So we're capturing the coolant. If you boil over your radiator, that's, instead of going on the ground and then ending up with a low coolant situation, you capture it, it goes into the tank, and then when the radiator cools, it sucks it back in. And then on the other side is the overflow, the ultimate overflow. If the 4 ounces or whatever it is in there were to completely overflow, that's where it would drain out. And then it's situated so it drips on the exhaust. So you'll see that, you'll know you're really steaming over at that point. Atlas throttle lock. We did a bike build for Dave Winters and talked about that. And so we threw that onto this bike as well. Double take mirrors. That's the Scrambler, which is the shorty version. And then that's the Moto left-hand master switch. And the reason we put that on is because with the flex bars, you're very limited on space. And so if you've got the stock switch, the US spec stock switch is so wide, you end up being very crowded over here. So we throw this on, and it also gives you, there's no interference back here. This nut, the clutch nut, a lot of times guys will have problems where that nut will hit their stock master switch, and so this is so thin in the back, you don't have to worry about that. It's thin on the side, and so we free up some bar real estate. We also got rid of the stock on-off toggle switch, and now we just have so this is a Xcf switch, very cool, really like these. And now you've got the on and off switch, again, trying to free up some real estate. So we have room here now. If we wanted to add one more function feature, we could do that. You're just super limited with all the tightness here with the flex bar system. So there's some advantages to it, and that's one of the disadvantages, is you lose real estate really, really quickly if you have a lot of functions on your bars. Let's see, moving down, bulletproof radiator guards. Very cool. The thing that's probably my favorite about these is how much they guard on the bottom of the radiator. There is some vulnerability on the sides here. If you were to take a hit right here behind this nice braced part, that's vulnerable. But this is one of the real strong attributes of it. Samco hoses with the thermostat retained. O2 delete. Neither the Vortex nor the Get use the O2, and so that's deleted out. Recluse clutch, CX. And this is the P3 Max, love it. Molecule skid plate, Arizona ride shop folding tip. We talked about the foot pegs. This is his funny story. Not funny. Parts are so difficult to get right now. I'm filming this, I think, March 2nd, and we are now, in that season of COVID where things seem to be picking up as far as like the vaccine, and I think the restrictions are lifting. However, because of the fact that it's spring and so many guys are buying motorcycle parts, it's very, very difficult. I'm sure you're finding availability of parts to be a nightmare, and that's happening right now. So there's some components for that rear shock, specifically the X-Trig preload adjuster, and a few other things we've just had a hard time getting a hold of with the deadline of this build, and so that's not on there yet. P3 Racing for P3 carbon for the frame guards. Love these little things, super slick. Polysport for the swing arm guards. This is the rack. So the rack mounting system, we talked about this with Dave Winter's bike. The True North rack system, very, very clever. Uses a new through bolt for the brake lever here, and then you remove and then install one of the longer bolts. This long bolt for the brake master cylinder holds this unit down here, and then you've got all this bracing that comes up. Because Pete, obviously with the Mosko bags and the KTMs, have a design weakness in the fact that the subframe ends right here. We talked about that with Dave Winter's bike. So if you throw a soft bag that would maybe cover a little bit of the seat, and some of those Mosko bags are kind of wide, and so that would hit here and would come all the way out to the end. Since this is all plastic out here, there's really no load-bearing strength to that. So the rack handles that weight, distributes the force, the downforce into the subframe, and then down here into the bottom of the subframe and the main frame. So we talked about how the True North rack does a really good job of managing all that weight. Enduro plate, tidy tail, Takamoto tidy tail, turn, run, and brake lights all in one housing, so there's no external turn signals. And on these newer bikes, there's just so little real estate here to mount any. You can do it, and I've seen it done. You can stick some little bug-eye turn signals right in here. You end up having all the wires and the fussiness of all that. And so because of the tidy tail integrated into the stock underframe, you don't have any wires exposed down there. Also, if you notice, there's a nut right here. We ended up getting some plastics kit and some graphics from Upshift, and they ended up getting the motocross version and not the EXC version, which has the two little plastic studs. So if you wanted to, here's a quick little pro tip. If you wanted to change colors, the EXC bikes, the Xcf-w and the EXCs, don't come in a lot of colors. There's some that are the MX bikes only, and those don't have a tail light, and so they're not going to have the little pins, the little plastic studs. And so what you can do is use a button screw and then a stainless steel nut underneath. Is it the most elegant way to go? No, but because of the rack right here, you don't see it. But if your eye didn't fall on that and you weren't constantly thinking about it, it's not a big deal. It's not very noticeable, really. DDC rear sprocket, 1448 on the gearing, Warp 9 titanium sprocket bolts, super rad. Over here, bulletproof. I forgot to mention this is the bulletproof rear guard, and they have a caliper option. You cannot get the caliper guard on any other bracket. This is cool, but the only way to get that is to use the bulletproof caliper carrier, and it has the fixtures for the caliper guard. So you can run the guard without the caliper carrier, but you can't run the caliper carrier without the bulletproof guard. Tusk axle spacer, which is adjustable in and out, and then the Tusk wheel bearing cover. Moto wheel weights, Warp 9, titanium stud rim lock, and then I said we'd talk about this tire. This one back here is the Moto's traction. Not that this isn't the Tractionator. This is the Extreme Mountain Hybrid. Really great tire, super underrated. The traction on this is exceptional, especially in anything dry. So if you're dual sporting, gravel roads, desert, sandstone, Moab, this would be a great tire for Moab. There's a lot of areas where this tire is good. It does not excel in mud and sand. It'll run in sand just fine, but it'll take a minute for it to hook up. Once it hooks up, you're just kind of planing like a boat on top. But as far as the spin up, it might be a little bit longer than what you'd expect on a true knobby tire, but a really great tire. Lasts a long time, very tough. I think it's a good tire for a lot of guys. Let's see, we talked about what's under the seat as far as, so the battery, we have a Get battery in there, and then we have the Get ECU in the airbox, PC Racing filter skin, and then a PC Racing filter gasket, screenless air filter cage, and then the Twin Air flame-proof air filter, high-flow air filter. So that's what's going on in there. And also in there is the Moto accessory auxiliary relay harness, and that would allow him to run like some heated grips or GPS unit from that, and then it's switched so it's only on when the bike is powered, when the bike is running. Back here we've got the Bulletproof Designs swing arm guard protector. Fastway, forgot to mention this. This is their kickstand. It's unbelievable. It's super cool, very reliable, very durable. I think that's a Warp 9 shift lever. Let's see, Recluse. There's the CX. That's the slave cylinder rather. This is the Cherubies. This is their big tank. That's the I always forget the size of these. It's a 4 something. I'll put that in the notes. And then there's a Golan fuel filter, and then the Moto Fuel 90, and a little bit custom on the hoses. We talked about that with the David Winters bike. We're going to be working out some preformed, ready to go, kind of plug and play hose assemblies for different bikes and different tank sizes. So look for that coming soon from your friends at Moto. That's probably it, or maybe I'm missing a couple of things. This is the Moto tank vent system that would allow him to mount up a tank bag, a Mosko tank bag on top of that. So very cool bike. Pete's gonna have a great time. Pete and Ashley, see them at the shows. If you go to the Moto shows, you'll always see them. Take a look at their stuff, moskomoto.com. We'll put a link to it. Give those guys some love. Also Upshift, who provided the graphics and may feature this bike in some upcoming stuff. Give those guys some love too. Let us know if you have any thoughts or comments about any bike parts or issues you're having with your bike. We're happy to help you. You can best way to reach us is probably text or email. A lot of times when you call, we may be out riding, we may be in Mexico, we may be in the dyno, we may be testing some bikes. So often shooting us an email or a text is quickest to get a reply, and we're happy to help you out with anything you've got going on. Like and subscribe as always, and go out, get some adventure.